Screencast 29. Getting data from an XML Cloud Service. So there is this awesome website called Color Lovers. And Color Lovers does many things, but one thing they do is that they have this list of palettes that are created. Users submit these and other users rank them and vote on them. This is very similar to Adobe's Cooler website in that regard. Now here are the palettes. You can see Renaissance UFOs, beige and blue, balloons. Those are the names of the palettes. And you can see that some have comments, followers, views, loves. Now this data is exposed via the Color Lovers API. There's a website here that explains their API documentation. And it's an XML API. So we're going to find the palettes API, which is right here. And we'll find the new ones, or the top ones, since we think those will probably look nice. You can see we get back some XML. And as you could probably predict, we can see the palette ID, the title, which is in the CData section, the number of views, votes, comments, hearts, and the actual colors. Right? What we're going to do in this screencast is show you how to get data from an XML web service and use it in a report. And I'm picking this example because it's kind of fun, and I can show you some things about SSRS formatting later on that take advantage of the fact that colors are actually in the report. Okay, so first we've already have my old project, samples library. We'll create a new one, and we'll call it add new. Let's call it demo color. Notice the spelling of color with a U. Palettes new. Okay, so there's our new report model. Now we're going to create a data set, and roughly we're going to have like a name, the votes, the likes, and the colors. We can look back at the XML here. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors, and we're interested in some other fields. Now before we go talk to the XML service, let's just create our data set. This will make life simpler later on. And a data set is going to need to be bound to a data method in this case. So we'll start with our data method. Double click on that, and I'll rename it get new palettes. And of course it's going to be a system.data data table. var dt equals new system.data table, and we'll add some columns. dt.columns.add, and the first, let's go back to the XML. I want to make sure we want the title and the username. Okay, let's start there. Title, and we'll get the ID as well. Type of string. Username, also a string. And the ID, since we're not sure if they're always ints or not, we'll just keep that as a string as well. Okay, we're not going to add any colors yet. Now notice I'm just going to return the data table right now, just exactly as it is. I want you to see what happens when I do this, because as you can tell, there are no rows in the data table. Okay, go back to the report. Let's add a data set. Call this palettes. Bind it not to a query, but to business logic. Pick the data method. Okay, so notice that the data method did pick up, the data set did pick up the fields that we created in data method. Let's go ahead and run. Drag that in to create a design. I'll set the templates now. And let's preview this design. Okay, nothing is there. It's kind of curious, right? I mean, not only is there nothing there, I mean, the fact that there are no rows is kind of clear. But the fact that the columns aren't there is a bit odd. That's intriguing, actually. And why is that? Let's go set on the data region the no rows value. It'll be obvious in a second. No palettes. Is that the reason? Let's save and preview. And there you go. There are no palettes, therefore the columns, the headers weren't drawn. That's what's going on in this case. Now, let's, for the sake of argument, now that we've done that, we go back to the XML and let's fake some data. Now we had, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors. But before we get there, let's go ahead and add a fake row. And I prefer to do this because it simplifies life later on. I prefer to get all the binding done first in the report and then switch to actually pulling the data from the service. So we'll add some rows. First we'll begin load data, and we'll do our end load data, and dt rows dot add, and we'll do, I don't know, title is hello, username is Savine, and the ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Let's just add a couple of these. And go back to the report and preview. Yeah, okay, we're getting our data now. That's fine. And now let's go and fix up some colors. So we want 5 colors. So I'll add a column called color1, and that'll be a type of string. I'll add a few more. This will be color 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is interesting. Now this is the first time I've actually added more columns to something. What happens when I preview the report? Oh, okay. I didn't see any new columns there. That's interesting. Let's close the preview. Let's go back to the report. Why didn't I see more columns there? Well, let's look at the data set. There are no, those color columns are not there. So let's go ahead and right click on the data set and refresh. Now you see it picks them up. Okay, so surely our preview should be working now, right? Oh, this is interesting. The colors aren't there either. They're still not there. That's a little confusing. Why is that? The answer is very simple. There's something that, I forget all the time myself, is that when you've refreshed the data set and you've added more fields, that doesn't necessarily mean they just get automatically populated in data regions. You have to drag them down. So I'll select them and drag. Now they're in the data region. And now that they're in the data region, let's do the preview. Okay, the columns are there. Notice that the width of the columns now actually exceed the page size. Now there are no values here because I didn't enter anything. Okay, and that is what we're going to do next. Let's first just enter some fake data. Right, we'll go back here and let me look at what these guys actually have. They have entered data like this with this hex string. Okay, so I will go ahead and add that data just like as they have. Let me copy this entire section, go back, and I'm just going to paste it here. It won't be legal, but we'll fix it bit by bit. So I want a string there with that value. And I'm just quoting these strings because I'm going to paste them later. I just want to first see them in the report. And let's put them there. Should be 5 colors there. Okay, and I'll get rid of these rows and just duplicate it. And again, the reason I do this, and I haven't talked to that service in the cloud yet, is because once I've set up the data binding, you want to do that first because it makes it simpler to deal with the issues of connecting and parsing XML, etc., that are going to happen later on. So let's do that preview. And there we go. Now we can see the title, the username, ID, and the colors. Now, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to fix a little bit of this report. You'll notice that, again, these colors are exceeding the width of this page. And you want to avoid doing that, let me assure you. Later on, I'll explain why it's really bad to do that. How do you fix these things? So let's take color 1. And for this, just to make it obvious, I'm going to change the background color of this column to something that's obvious. I'll make it orange. I need you to see this. That's how big that field is, right? Now, I believe the default value is 1.5 inches. So we want to change that to, let's just say 0.75. Let's see how that works. Now we can do that just by changing the display width here to 0.75 IN. And if we preview, you can see it's smaller. But what about the rest of the fields? Now we could one by one set the display width and the color. But if you remember that technique I showed you with AutoDesign, so we can select all the nodes. Select, let's say the background color to be, I'll change it to be this kind of weird purple, blue. And I'll set the width of all of them to 0.75 inches. And you see they all got set, right? As I click through, you can see it. Now let's do the preview. And now you see they fit a bit tighter. And if I fix the ID, which also should not be very long, there we go. Now everything fits in the report, which is an important aspect of all SSRS reports. We're going to have to get them to fit the page size correctly. You don't want them going over. Okay, so we've concluded the very first step for using our XML web service. We've sort of set up the data sets and the data methods, provide some fake data. Now that all the binding is there, the next thing we'll do is actually connect to the web service, pull data, and dynamically populate and dynamically format the report. And that will be in our next screencast. So see you then.